makes me want to holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I've got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
You know, we need them. We need those strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Oh boy, I hope they are.
Here we go. I think we need to buckle our seatbelt today. Hey folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is psychotherapist, POPC Lauren Leon McMillan. And, Lauren, most of us, when you say the word cult, most of us say, well, I wouldn't fall for that.
Yeah.
I'd never fall for that. Because we have pictures in our mind. Most of us have the pictures of the robes and the chanting and the remote compounds, But our life strategist today has got a very, very interesting new book. It's just out. And it is called The Culting of America, What Makes a Cult and Why We Love Them. She says that toxic groups don't just exist on the fringe. They thrive in boardrooms, in group chats, in fitness classes, in political rallies, in religious groups, corporate retreats, anywhere that we seek identity and purpose and belonging. And
I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think it's an important way for people to really think and understand and begin the process that we talk about a lot, which is the road to freedom.
Absolutely.
Right? To understanding and intentionally living
and
consciously.
Daniella Mestyanek Young is herself a cult survivor. She's a U.S. Army veteran. I'll tell you more about her, but your warning is noted, seatbelt buckled, and we're ready to go. We'll come back and meet Daniella Mestyanek Young today and talk about the culting of America. Folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing, Learning RX, we train your brains, the Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitas Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, pretty good Muffies too, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. Back in a moment to meet Daniella Mestyanek Young, the Culting of America, talking about it today here on Strategies for Living.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem trapped. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Let's welcome into the program now Daniella Mestyanek Young. She is a cult survivor. She's a U.S. Army veteran, Harvard-trained organizational psychologist. She's the author of 2 books, about high control groups, Uncultured, which is her critically acclaimed memoir, and now The Culting of America. She was born into the Children of God, the infamous sex cult known for weaponizing religion, sexuality, and isolation. And she escaped at 15, only to join another high control institution. It's called the United States Army. And there she became one of the first women to serve on an integrated ground combat team in Army history, all while working as an intelligence officer who studied terrorists for a living. And turns out cults, terrorist groups, military units, and corporations have more in common than maybe we understand, want to admit. And Daniella has been, she's been busy connecting dots. Daniella, welcome. Welcome into Strategies.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, wow, where do we start this conversation? Congratulations on the book.
Yeah,
I'm holding the book
hot.
up to the radio here. It's not burning up, but it's hot. It's still hot off the press. And I hope people will, go find The Culting of America. Congratulations on its publication. And so let's move back. Some people who are listening may have read your memoir, but what do we need to understand about your life in for the first 15 years of your life in the Children of God?
So I was born 3 generations into the Children of God. So my grandfather joined this cult in the 70s, became one of their CPAs, actually still runs the money for what is left of them. My mother, of course, then is born and raised in this cult and is pregnant with me at the age of 14 by a full-grown man. And this was how I came into it, so coming up into this, the cult is my whole family. I have no connection to the outside world, no grandparents, my whole family is the cult. Also probably important to know that we were not in America. We were left America, this cult, after things started heating up for cults in the 70s and went around the world. So I was born in the Philippines, grew up in Latin America. And so at 15, when I am excommunicated from the cult, I am literally kicked out of everything I know and even thrown into a completely different country, which is the great state of Texas. And that was its own very interesting thing to survive.
What got you excommunicated? Who did you piss off? What did you do?
I broke the biggest rule, which was, and usually is in cults, some sort of fellowship with outsiders. In our case, once the Children of God stopped using prostitution as a recruitment tool, they went totally insular. So I very dramatically climbed over the commune walls, went to hang out with a boy from the system, which was our word for the world.
Yeah.
And
you were doing a normal 15-year-old thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So, wow. We've already touched on this, but let's drill down into this a bit. What most of us think of when we think of the word cult, as I mentioned in your introduction, we think of the robes and the chanting and the remote compounds and all of that stuff, and some of that you were a part of, but we don't think maybe broadly enough. How do you define cult?
So, it's a very long, complicated thing. I have a 10-part definition. That's this next book that really drills into it. But the most important thing, I think, for me to understand and for everyone else to understand was that cults are groups that use coercive and manipulative tactics in order to exploit your labor. And the labor is such a crucial piece. I did not understand my own life until I heard a cult expert say cults are all about labor.
Right.
And I think specifically with the children of God, people are so horrified with the what, right? Because of religious prostitution, because of open sexual abuse of children, that they don't get to the why. And the why was labor. You know, they had an army of 10,000 beggars for Christ. We were 7,000 singing, dancing, performing children
Right.
that they kind of trafficked in plain sight all around the world. And that is what it was about. So this labor thing is so crucial, and it can look like so many different things. It does not always look like a commune and the things that we think of.
Yeah. Yeah. And, in the intro, I said that, you joined another cult, and it probably turned some heads when I said the United States Army. And so talk a little bit about your journey. All right, you're 15, you're thrown out. You obviously didn't join the Army at 15. What about those years in between? How did you go about surviving, Daniella? How did you make it, and when did you start awakening to what you had been part of?
Yeah, we hear people's stories of coming to the US with $16. I had literally $0. I was dropped off with a stepsister that I had not met before. I have 25 siblings in cult math.
Right.
And was sort of pretty on my own. Got dropped into high school. Felt like I was from another planet. Was really the only way to explain it. And I was already looking at the military, the Marines specifically, because I just had no other idea what I would do. I got so lucky in high school that this counselor, and we had 4,000 students with 4 counselors, and this counselor saw me, listened to me, and put me on the track for college. So I went to college, actually graduated valedictorian, and then I joined the Army anyway. Thank you.
Well,
and it's interesting because then I joined the Army anyway. And a big part of that was a pretty significant toxic relationship, which we also sometimes refer to as a 1-1 cult. But the way I know that if I hadn't joined the Army, I would have had a PhD by 25, because I didn't know how to be in the real world. I would have stayed in academia because it felt comforting, right?
Right.
So there was an important moment when I was still in high school, which was there was a murder-suicide related to the Children of God cult. And what happened is I was hearing it on television, and they were saying, Children of God cult, Children of God cult. And I, standing there at 17, said, oh, I grew up in a cult. Right.
Wow.
2 years after, this is something we don't talk about a lot. Many people don't realize they were in a cult till after.
Right.
My second thought, of course, was this is why we always talked about why we weren't a cult. And, I barely started getting into it. And then I went into college, and looking back now, and I'm sure the psychotherapists will have interesting thoughts, I think I put myself in a high control schedule in college, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I had to be valedictorian. I was working 4 jobs. I gave myself no time to think about any of what I had been through. Like, it was only surviving.
Yeah.
And so then it's not until I am in basic training. And basic training starts off with this very dramatic event where you have a 50-pound duffel bag. The second the bus pulls to a stop, the drill sergeants start yelling. And what happens is we're going to spend 2 to 3 hours with a 50-pound duffel bag up in the air. And that is your introduction to basic training. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I just joined another cult. And by the way, my second thought was, well, I'm going to be better at it than the rest of these suckers.
Sure.
I know where. Yeah, I've been here before.
I know what to do.
I know what to do. And when I tell you, I was looking forward to basic training because my brain was so tired from college that I was looking forward to just, we say in the Army, all you have to do to be successful is be in the right place, the right time, the right uniform, and never volunteer for anything. Okay? Don't use your brain. Don't stand out. We'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And basic training was actually pretty fun. But there's a really important thing about this exercise that they do, which is that it is both impossible and irrational. Right? So nobody can do it. Nobody can actually keep the bag up that long. And cults need you to always be striving for an impossible goal. But also...
We need to take a quick break here, Daniella. Let's come back. Let's come back right to this. And you can already hear, folks, we are in a very, very important, interesting conversation with Daniella Mestyanek Young today. The Culting of America. At your favorite bookseller. Don't go away. We've got much more to learn right here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
And welcome back in to Strategies for Living Radio. We are getting a dose today from Daniella Mestyanek Young. Got to get this book. It's called The Culting of America, What Makes a Cult and Why We Love Them. And Daniella, I'm sorry I had to cut you off because we had to pay bills. But we're back now. So let's continue with your story because you said the basic
impossible task.
Yeah, the impossible task of holding that duffel bag up for an hour, but it needs to be an impossible. They need you striving, right?
Yes, they need you striving. They need you knowing that you suck. And then the second part is that it's irrational. And cults have these wacky rituals on purpose. And we have research that shows that once you do the first irrational thing for your group, you're very likely to do more or to not, complain about future ones. And this night after this event is really like people either break and go home or they break and go through. And that's what this event is for. And that's where, the cult starts the identity breaking indoctrination that reprograms you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What begins to happen to a person's sense of self? Like when that sort of obedience is rewarded more than authenticity, what begins to happen?
Yeah, I have a whole chapter on self-sacrifice in the book because it is part of how they break you. What they are doing is breaking your sense of self. Yeah. And it is done through constant sacrifice. Constant sacrifice. You are separating yourself. And what cults really want is for you to kind of be this walking around meat puppet that can then just work for them. So they're getting you to suspend your personality and put on a pseudo personality. And the work of taking that one off is incredibly difficult after we leave cults.
Yeah. I'm beginning to put those pieces together Daniela, of where that comes down to. Yeah, we can talk about cults officially, like the big cults that even you are a part of, but I'm seeing it trickle down to even some family, within family systems, how that, that degrading of the self and having to self-sacrifice, that parallels.
I truly think that one of the most important things I do is tell people about one cults and single family cults, because there are so many people who have, I think, no idea what they went through and how exactly it parallels the experience of a commune cult. And the huge thing about growing up in a system of constant self-sacrifice is you don't get to form a personality at all.
Yeah.
Now, when you let's be very you one cults, define that for people have heard it. I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to make sure we all are on the same page here. How do you define that?
We would most commonly call it an abusive relationship.
Okay.
But it is an acknowledgement that all it takes is two people to have a cult. One person leading and coercing and one person following.
Okay. So that abusive relationship, and we all realize that can also become then an abusive family, an abusive system, where it might, just as in your case, your grandfather joined this cult, and then your mother was part of it. You were born into it. So it can be generational then, these cults, one-on-one cults and systems. We might call them abusive families.
Absolutely. And I think that most of the big cult leaders, they learned it from a parent or a grandparent in so many cases.
Yeah.
When you have a history of cults in the United States, you've written about it. What do we need to know about that? What did you learn as you dove in and researched the culting of America, if you will?
I think the most important thing was the Puritans. I don't think we talk enough about the Puritans. Were absolutely an extremist group. They did not come in search of religious freedom. They came in search of religious control. And, the Puritans have been described as the fear that somewhere is having fun. Someone somewhere is having fun. And I think that has trickled down so much in America.
Yeah.
And as I was looking at it, I was going, okay, the Puritans in 1630 and evangelical Texas that I was put in 2003, these are the descendants of each other.
Yeah.
And here we are 20 years later, and it's only kind of gotten more significant.
When you obviously you've had your previous book, and it was a very critically acclaimed memoir. You got out and you talked about it a lot, as you are doing now and going to do more with this book. But I'm just wondering, how does the average citizen who is attending maybe a book event where or they hear you speak or they hear you talk and you come out with some of this stuff that maybe people coming to a book signing might not be expecting. What do you hear? What kinds of things do you hear from people, real people, as they hear your story and your ideas here about the culting of America?
The most interesting one is I hear a lot of people say, oh, the military is obviously not a cult. And all of those people are civilians. Veterans, like we know, the same way I didn't know I was a cult growing up, but I knew I was in a group. I knew it was separate. I knew we were the best. I knew we were different. all of those things happen in the military. And finally, when we leave the military, we find out we never get to go back, right? We never get to go back to being civilians again. We are changed forever. And also the Salvation Army is another one that people just don't know about. But I think the reason this book works for people and I get a good response is because I wrote a tactics book, not really a cult call-out book. So in the end of my first book, Uncultured, I say, none of this is easy to spot, the tactics that cult leaders use. And this is my intelligence officer, habits of the bad guys, how they do it book. And really what I wanted to do is give people the ability to self-diagnose their own experience. And I honestly kind of don't care what is called a cult or not. I think the name matters the least as understanding these tactics that may or may not have been used on you, and then how you can undo that. We've also created a workbook for deconstructing a personality or an identity that goes along with this that people have really been relating to as well. I would love to send you all a copy.
Yeah,
I would love that, and we'll do another program on it. Because this is one of the things that the book needs to get out to a lot of people, Daniella, in my opinion, but also the book needs to get out to a lot of therapists, counselors, psychologists, people who work one-on-one frontline with folks.
Yes, I appreciate this. And it is like one of the holes in therapy out there, I think, is the understanding of cults. Cult survivors often are misdiagnosed with personality disorders.
Sure.
And sometimes it's true, but sometimes it is just the need to understand what we've been through and put it in order. And I mean, the way it has helped me understand what I went through and heal by understanding the tactics, I think it cannot be stressed enough.
Right.
What are some of the red flags that people might want to be on the lookout out in their life that kind of say, "Oh, this is a cult tactic. This is cult behavior"?
So I always say if there's a group of more than 5 people trying to recruit you and everybody is pretty and shiny and bouncy and happy, like run away, right? That is attitude control and behavior control, and you don't want that. I think anything in the space of personal transformation, predators will show up. That can be exercise, diet, therapy, education. It can even be losing a loved one. So like we're all going to go through it again. So from that perspective, I actually think like one of the most important things to know is like you're never safe. You know, I say it's always low threat. It's never no threat.
Yeah.
But these hints too, like cults are always about labor. So respecting your time and your labor, that's not the easiest, but going to be one of the best ways to protect yourself. And then finally, I have this whole chapter on the tactic of missionizing, which I call weaponizing the mission, often some form of do it for the children, and understanding that kind of anything that you hold sacred, anything that you think is pure good can be used to manipulate you.
So what I'm hearing, we got to take a break here in a moment. What I'm really hearing you espouse is awareness, be alert and aware, and understand this is out there, and it's out there more than we think it is. And so
100%.
Be aware, be vigilant. And one of the ways you might start doing that is with this wonderful book, The Culting of America. I promise you, it may make you think, it may...
Which is a good thing. We need more of that today.
May make you a bit uncomfortable, but it's what makes a cult and why we love them. The Culting of America. Daniella Mestyanek Young, our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. We've got more. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies, strategies, strategies for living radio.
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, Daniella Mestyanek Young, the author of a great new book. You got to get it. You can find it wherever you get books. The Culting of America. And it's what makes a cult and why we love them. Daniella Mestyanek Young. And she's our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living, and a doggone good one. Mm-hmm. We always say that, Daniella, we're here to stretch our minds, to make us think, and you're doing that about triple time, girl.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, so groupthink. What cults are kind of rely on that groupthink thing, right? People may have heard it, but what is it? What is groupthink, and what do we need to know?
Groupthink, we call it mob mentality a lot too, but it's really allowing the group around you to override your own processes. Most people, by the time they have reached adulthood, they're pretty good at navigating life, and at least we used to be, figuring out what's true and not true. But the group, the love bombing is a very important part of this. And extremism does not feel awful. Extremism feels amazing, right? It feels amazing to be surrounded by people that look like you and think like you and are guaranteeing you that you are on the right path. And people think that they miss the red flags when they're getting into cults. But I don't think so. I think they're taught they clock the red flags, and then they're just taught to push past them. And that's a big part of the groupthink. There's also my favorite named term in cults, and it's called performative regulation. Okay. And this is when everyone in the cult is watching each other and enforcing the rules on each other and sort of perpetrating on each other, but very much keeping each other in line. So after the groupthink, people don't even understand how it happened. But this performative regulation, horizontal power structure, self-policing, that's part of how it functions. And of course, the final piece is isolation. Isolation always ramps up extremism. We expected to see that with COVID, for example, and we did. Yeah. Because when you are isolated with a group, we know as animals that it's dependent on our safety is dependent on fitting in. When you're with a smaller group separated from the world, group norms matter so much more. And that's why it's easier to dress however you want in New York City than in Midland, Texas.
Yeah. All right. So you've got some rules. There's only 3 of them, the 3 rules of cults. May I share these, Daniella?
Absolutely.
Rule number 1 is the first rule of cults is you're not in a cult. Rule number 2 is the second rule is the only unforgivable sin is leaving. And 3, even if he did it, that doesn't mean he's guilty. Okay.
And this last one is a really important part about gurus, and it's called the deification of idiosyncrasy, which is our desire to make excuses for the inexcusable behavior of our charismatic leaders. And I was absolutely thinking about Donald Trump when I put that third rule together.
Yeah, I heard that.
I bet you thought about him a lot during the writing of this book.
Sure did. Yeah, but it's kind of been this sort of perfect display of how a cult of personality can rise, and then how that charisma, which nobody not under his spell understands it as charisma, right? But his charisma. And then the way that followers will just explain away everything. And one of my favorite cult inoculations is there are no gurus.
So
the other one, by the way, is there are many valid ways to live a life. Because one of the things that cults give you is the promise that, like, this is the way. Right. You follow our million rules, you do our work, and this promise, usually after some space travel, will be delivered to you. And understanding, especially after cults, saying to ourselves a lot, there are many valid ways to live a life. This one's mine, that one's someone else's, I think is really, really helpful to keep yourself from being drawn in.
I was also very interested, Daniella, because, again, as the conversation has gone on, I'm sure people have thought some of the same things that I've thought. Maybe you've thought also, Lauren. You know, we're all parts of groups, right?
I'm not thinking how many cults are we all a part of?
But then all cults are not created equal. I'm putting that in air quotes. And so I was interested that you have 10 commandments for good groups. In other words, also known as how not to be culty. First and foremost, thou shalt not rape the children, or stand by those who do. Thou shalt have other gods before me. Thou shalt question all things too sacred to question. The mission must be achievable in this lifetime. Thou shalt never call thyself a family, ever. Thou shalt loudly declare that information is never bad. Thou shalt keep insider jokes and lingo to a minimum. Thou shalt not chant thy own last name. Thou shalt compensate physical and emotional labor, and thou shalt beware of exit cost and shunning. Wow.
And those correspond, by the way, with the 10, tactics of cults that we talk about. Except ends justifies the means mentality is number 10, but that's don't rape the children, because of course that has to be rule number 1.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the don't chant thy own last name is great, because I think we can all think of USA, USA.
Yeah.
But every cult promises you that they are the best, even using the in their title, right? And we are the United States, right? And we have always told ourselves that we are the best.
Yeah.
And I always say anything that calls itself a family wants to overwork you, underpay you, and expect you to put up with more BS than you would otherwise.
She will make you think. I promise you that. You need to get a copy of this book, maybe a couple.
Yeah, pass them out.
The Culting of America, What Makes a Cult and Why We Love Them. Daniella Mestyanek Young, our life strategist today. I have a feeling we're going to have you back, Daniella. More than one time. But right now, we got to take our break, and we'll be back to wrap up with Daniella today on Strategies for Living. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan. David McMillan with Daniella Mestyanek Young today, The Culting of America. You can find it wherever you buy books, and I hope you will. It's what makes a cult and why we love them. They're more places than we think. And Daniella, we will definitely have you back, but
Absolutely.
Your impossible task for now, it's in about a minute. What do you want people to take away? We've had a fascinating conversation. You've made us think. You've stretched us. What do you want people to take away from your work and our conversation here today?
think the biggest thing to take away is there are no purely good groups and systems. All of our stuff is problematic because it was all created by humans under problematic times, and that we are built, like, we are in these systems now. And so understanding that there's always going to be predators, there's always going to be harmful stuff, and knowing what they're going to try to do is the most important way to protect yourself. And also that there are no simple answers. Elon Musk is not going to take us to Mars. A 19-year-old Stanford dropout wasn't going to solve blood testing that stumped the best scientists. And anyone promising you a simple answer to a complicated problem is trying to con you or cult you.
Wow. Daniella, thank you so much for the work you're doing,
Yes.
and thank you for being a fantastic life strategist. Can't wait till
Look forward to the next
we talk
conversation.
again. Yeah, definitely. The Culting of America. Get this book, folks. And thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of Strategies for Living. And we appreciate our sponsors who make it all happen, make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX. We train your brain. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of The Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, and some pretty good muffies too. Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, for Daniella Mestyanek Young, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.